Hello. Today we're going to talk about Rule 32 guidelines. Many people refer to these as the child support guidelines. And they're used to determine how much child support a non-custodial parent should pay to the parent that has custody of the children. Now I want to talk a little bit about the guidelines for a minute, and I want to emphasize something. If you notice, I've used the term guideline several times already, and that's exactly what they are, guidelines. The judge has the authority to deviate up and award more child support or down and award less. Now there's a lot of factors the judge can decide in what amount of child support to grant. If the child has special needs, like if you have a child who suffers from some type of retardation or health problems, the judge can award more. Or if you have a parent who has to travel a long way to see the child or make special travel arrangements, like if the child lives, say, in Atlanta and you live in Mobile and you have to pay to bring the child down here, the judge can award less. Now, one thing I want to emphasize, these are set as guidelines for the judge, meaning that they have the discretion in going up or down. Now, most judges try to stay as close to the guidelines as possible, and the reason is they want everybody to think that they're doing the fair thing, and I think most judges do want to do the fair thing. And as long as they stay pretty close to this, no one's really ever going to criticize them. So we're going to start by going over one form called a CS42 form. Now this form I have already filled out just because it'll move faster if I've done this. And what this form is designed to do is determine what the guideline amount should be. This is one of the forms that most courts require you turn in when you file for a divorce. And even when you don't file for divorce, if you go to try to have child support increased or decreased, you'll probably have to fill out one of these forms. Let's start with the beginning. The first thing you have to put in there is the court that it takes place. In this example, we're going to have the Circuit Court of Mobile County. Up here, we have to put in the case number. Then, of course, the plaintiff, and we just kept it simple, John Smith and Jane Smith. Now we go below, and then we have Dick as their son, born 1/1/2000, and Sue as their daughter, born 6/15/2002. Now, I want to pay close attention here. This is where we start doing the actual calculations. In this particular equation, we have John making $3,000 a month. His wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, Jane, makes $2,000. However, John has to pay pre-existing child support to another child from a previous marriage. So what happens is his $3,000 gets reduced to $2,600 because he's already paying child support in a previous case. So he has a total income of $2,600. Sue has never been married in this equation, so her $2,000 remains $2,000. Now, next we add these two together and we come up with $4,600. So their total income is $4,600. Now I want to show you something because this is very important. A lot of people have problems understanding this. What we're going to do now is determine what percentage each person pays and what their percentage of the $4,600 is. The first one we're going to do is John. So you take $2,600 because that's his total. Then you divide the $2,600 by the total amount of their combined income, which is $4,600. John's income comes up to, or pardon me, his percentage comes up to be 56.5. So we're going to round that to 57%. Now we start over and we do Sue's. Sue makes $2,000. We divide that by the total, once again, of $4,600. Her total is 43.4. So we round that down to 43%. So they have a total amount of $4,600 with him paying 57% of the child support and her paying 43%. Now, this is where the guidelines come in. What I'm holding in my hand is a copy of the guidelines. They are used to determine what the basic guideline amount should be. Now, it's not that simple, but we're going to take a look at it. We'll go from there. Now, because we have a total of $4,600 and we have two children, the total amount should be $1,064. So we put $1,064 right here. But there's other factors in awarding child support that need to be taken into consideration. One of them, the most common, is daycare, or in this particular case, they call it work-related expense. Now, once again, the court has discretion. Normally, this is a formal daycare, but if you have to pay someone like a friend or a mother-in-law to take care of the child, the court can consider that. Once again, it goes to the discretion of the court. So, what we do here is we figure it to be $400 a month. Now, underneath that is health insurance, and we have it at $300 a month. Now, in our equation, John pays this health insurance cost directly from his paycheck. So it's going to be added into the total child support cost, but then later John will get a discount on that because he's. You'll see what I mean in a second. So we take our total from our guideline amount right here of $1,064. We add the work-related expense of $400. We add the health insurance expense of $300, and we come up with $1,764 as being the total amount necessary for child support in this equation. Now, let's go back to our figures and see how these percentages play in. Now, $1,764 is our total that we start with. Now, if you remember, John's amount was 57%. So we take $1,764 and times it 0.57. His total is $1,005.48. So we put $1,548 there. Now, remember when I was talking about earlier about him getting a credit for paying the health insurance for the children? This is where it comes in. Right here it says adjustments for payment of health insurance. Well, over here he paid $300, which increased it. Now he gets a credit for $300, which is going to decrease what he has to pay each month. So you minus $300 from the $1,548, and the total child support that John would have to pay is $705.48. Now, let's go back and determine Jane's amount. In order to do this, we go back to our 1764, and we times that times 43, because she makes 43% of the income. 758.52. So we put 758.52 as far as each child support obligation. There's no adjustments for health insurance since it's being paid by John, so her total is $758.52. Now, what does this mean? Based on the guideline sheet that we have just performed, John would be required to continue making the health insurance payments based on this, and it would need to be in the judge's court order. But his total amount of child support that he would need to pay to Jane through the state of Alabama would be $705.48. Now, because Jane in our equation has custody of the children, she is not going to pay herself child support because she's already taken care of the children. The amount that would be allocated to be her share of that would be $758.52. Now, once again, this is for information purposes only. The judge has the final say on what the child support amount should be and has discretion to raise it or lower it based on numerous factors. And the courts normally allow the judge to make those determinations. Thank you very much. I certainly hope this has been helpful.